to truly know yourself, you need to spend time alone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dina Danielle, and today I am talking about spending time alone and why it's so important. Spending time alone and being lonely are two different things, and I think it's important to separate them. You can intentionally spend time alone by yourself, exploring your kind of own inner world, and I think as a creative I have done this a lot, and so I know the importance of it. Spending time alone is not only necessary for introverts, I think it's necessary for everyone to truly know yourself, get to know yourself, and get to know what you want. When you know what you want truly, and you know yourself truly, you're able to really have a more fulfilling life. There are a lot of benefits to spending time alone: an increased sense of calm, knowing oneself, being able to accomplish your goals, having peace and quiet, which really allows you to just settle your mind. I think in today's age, we are bombarded all the time with noise, and even if you're alone, you may be on social media, watching TV, you don't necessarily feel alone. And I think a lot of people escape themselves. And when I say spend time alone, yeah, you can sit down and watch a movie, but really sit and spend time with yourself, maybe reflecting, which would be meditating or writing, and exploring your own inner world. That can be drawing, painting, doing something creative. It can be one of your hobbies. Maybe you like music or bike riding or skateboarding, or just having that quiet kind of like transcendent time doing an activity that you love, or sitting and doing nothing, because honestly some of the best ideas come to you when you are just in a state of calm and doing nothing. Imagine, we all know this type of person, and maybe you are this type of person and it's something that you're working on, but we all know this type of person who cannot spend time alone, who actually absolutely hate so much to spend time by themselves that they completely fill up their schedule. They are either working all the time or going to social engagements all the time. They live with people. They don't live alone, which not sure if living alone is always the best thing, but they don't live alone, so they're always around people in their own home, or they're hosting, or they are going out and doing this and that and just can't sit with themselves. And I think that I used to have some of these qualities, although it wasn't very bad. I've known people that really cannot even spend a single hour or two alone because they fear themselves, they fear their own mind. I think that's really a lonely place to be, and the only way to really get over that is practicing spending time alone. If it's really hard for you, then I would say start with a movie. I think that's a form of escapism, but if that's the only way you know how to start, then start there, and then doing the harder things like reading a book by yourself. I think that's a little harder because you're not bombarded by a screen, and you don't have imagery coming at you in the same way. You have to sort of sit with yourself a little bit more and come up with it in your own imagination as far as the imagery goes for what you're reading. And then maybe you graduate from that and you go out alone, like you go to a dinner alone, or you go to a movie alone, or you go to a class alone. Just last week I took myself on a little date and went to a concert alone, and it was something that I really wanted to do. It was one of my favorite artists, Raye, R-A-Y-E. She's kind of like pop R&B, and it was absolutely amazing. I laughed, I cried, I danced, and I did it all by myself, and I loved it. So I think it really is important to spend time alone and take yourself on dates. So that could be something like a concert, like what I did. It can be a dinner, it can be a movie, it can be a trip. When you start building up the confidence to do things alone. I love to travel alone. I do just think it's really important because we are not always going to have someone in our life all the time, and the only person that you are going to be with 100% of the time is yourself. So you really need to get to know yourself, be comfortable with yourself, and be comfortable being alone with yourself. Another good way to spend time alone is by going on a walk, and I sometimes challenge myself to not put in my headphones and interact with the world around me a little bit more. You know, if I pass a person, say hi, how's your day going, something like that, rather than constantly being plugged in. I think a lot of people, when they are alone, they try to, at least when they're alone out in public, is like they try to escape the fact that they're alone by listening to music, listening to a podcast while walking. And not only can that be dangerous depending on where you are, but you are just escaping the solitude. And solitude doesn't equate to loneliness. There are two different things. So I think really finding solitude and a sense of self by being alone is so beneficial. Being able to be alone is essential to having a healthy relationship, a healthy romantic relationship, I should say, with somebody else. Because if you are not able to be alone and be by yourself, you are going to be very codependent, and you are constantly going to need someone else around you to reassure you that everything is okay. I have been with a codependent person in a relationship, and it proves to be very challenging. I think it's really important to spend time alone so you are kind of like nipping in the bud those codependent habits or tendencies. By not being codependent, by being able to spend time alone, you are less likely to allow the wrong people into your life and feel like you are stuck in a relationship that is not right for you. Because if you're scared of being alone and you're with someone who isn't right for you, then what are you going to do? You're going to stay in that relationship regardless of how you know it's not the right person for you. That relationship isn't benefiting you, and it's probably not benefiting them either. If it's not right for you, then it's probably not right for them. To be in a healthy romantic relationship, you do need to know how to spend time alone, because you need to know yourself. And then you're more likely to attract the right partnership. I don't think this actually only relates to romantic relationships. It can also relate to friendships and to family dynamics as well. If you don't know how to be alone, you don't know how to sit with yourself, you don't know how to be in solitude. And it's not just necessarily about being independent, because you can be an independent person and still hate being alone. You can be alone and not feel lonely, or you can be alone and feel super lonely. But I think the point is to be alone and to not feel loneliness is to be able to sit with yourself, sit with your own mind, and have that, and feel comfortable in that space. And if you're not able to do that, family can be toxic, friendships can be toxic. So if you're not able to be comfortable with your own self, then it's not only romantic relationships that you're going to bring in and could bring in the wrong person. You might hold on to friendships that are not right for you. You might hold on to family dynamics that are not benefiting you any longer and are not positive for your life. I mean, everyone fights with their family. I'm not saying cut off your entire family. I'm definitely not saying that, but family can be toxic. And so that is something to analyze, that if you can't spend time by yourself and be alone, maybe you're holding on to something, some sort of relationship that isn't meant for you anymore. Once you're able to spend time alone and you enjoy it, you start to crave it. And it's not just for introverts. I think extroverts still need some time to recharge, but it's something that if you don't have in your routine, once you feel comfortable with it, you really start to notice the absence, and you really need that time to be able to sit and reflect. I know this can be hard. Life is busy, especially if you are married, you live with a partner, or you're taking care of family, kids, or elder family members, sick family members. You're not always going to get that. So I would say just take as much time as you can, as you feel comfortable taking. And if this is something that's hard for you, then it's something to build on. Maybe you do an hour one day and then next week you do 2 hours, and instead of going on a walk the first week, you take yourself on a date, which is a little bit longer, or go to the movies, or you go shopping alone, or you know, you go out to a dinner alone, and you keep like graduating. So like I said, walk, dinner, and then maybe a day trip. You know, you don't have to go very far, but you could go to the beach if it's close by, or you could go, you know, to your neighboring city and just kind of like explore it. And of course, you do have to take into consideration your safety, especially if you are traveling. So you want to let someone else know where you're going, and maybe turn your location on and share it with someone that you know well and that you trust. For example, when I went to Dubai by myself, I did share my location, I think, with my mother, and every time I got every time I got back to the hotel after my excursion for the day, I would text her and say I'm back in my hotel, just so she knew I was safe. I was a woman traveling alone in a foreign country, so of course that's good to do. Really, the point is that you want to get to where you absolutely love spending time with yourself. I don't think it's something that it's like, okay, you're at that point and then you're never lonely when you're alone. That's not how life works. It's like there's waves to it. So you might have times where you really enjoy being alone, you're loving it, and then there's other times where you're like, hey, this isn't so great, I need to phone a friend. You got to know yourself enough to be able to know when you're happy being alone, when you're okay being alone, and also when you're not and you need some support. The idea is that if this is hard for you, then you get to the point where you really do enjoy being alone. And I think once you get to that point, you really are more selective about who you let into your life and who you spend time with. And that really is a beautiful thing, because you're able to navigate life in a different way, and your time and your space you're more protective of, which really, time, I think, is the most important asset that we have, so you should be protecting it. It's a really great thing to be able to spend time with yourself and not escape yourself. And this can be really hard for a lot of people. I hope this video really helps you, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them, and please hit the subscribe button, so thumbs up and subscribe button, so that you don't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching.